So after recording all of your tracks, you select the takes that you want and assign them to each track. You can adjust the level and the pound on the mixer and then play them back in the perfect mix that sounds good to you. But what if you'd like to add some more parts, but you've run out of tracks? Well, you can employ one of the oldest tricks in recording, which is bouncing. Back in the days of the old tape 4-track recorders, we'd take the output of the first 3 tracks and record the mix of them onto the 4th track. Well, you can do the same thing with the H4n, but it being an all-digital device, you can actually record the output of all 4 tracks onto either a single mono track or a pair of tracks for stereo. Let's bounce. Oh, by the way, actually, before I forget to mention, you'll notice right now there's nothing up here in the in and out, punch in and out area. That's because if you go down into the mode and in record mode, we are in always new. If you ever want to do any punching, you'll need to be in override and that will pop back up there. Anyway, getting back to our bouncing. I have the song that I worked on just a moment ago with our 4 tracks. Do you remember these guys? Now, I want to add a couple more parts, but as you can see, I'm out of tracks. I've used all 4 up. Let's move the cursor across here until bounce is selected. Then I'll select that with the data dial, and here's where you can bounce all 4 tracks down to this file. Now you can rename it if you like, and then also decide whether this is going to be a stereo or mono file. Obviously stereo is better than mono, but with most choices in life there is a trade-off. Stereo will take the pan position of all those 4 tracks, pan them out across the stereo field, giving us a much fuller mix, but it will take 2 tracks to play back that resulting file. That means that we've only freed up 2 tracks to add new parts on. Now, if we set that bounce to be mono, then we could collapse all 4 tracks just down to a single file, freeing up 3 tracks for new parts. But what have we lost? Well, we no longer have independent control of those bounced tracks. They are all mixed together like a cake. And if we bounce to a single mono file, then all of that panning information will be lost. They'll all be straight up the middle. They'll share the same panning position. But what have we gained? Well, we could now have unlimited tracks. Record 4 parts, bounce down to 1, then add 3 more parts, bounce them over here. Now you have 7 parts on a single track. We could basically keep on doing this to forever. There's no limit on how many times you can do this. But in all practicality, once you blend together a bunch of parts together, you'll probably want to adjust the blend between them after some point. And trying to adjust the blend on a bounced track or bounce track is kind of like trying to unmix a cake. Try pulling out the eggs and flour from a batter. Just can't be done. Okay, so let's actually perform a bounce, and I'm going to do it with a stereo file. Down here in stereo, this would be the way to go, but really, if we're going to make the most out of this, I would go down into, into these tracks, and I would pan them out wide to make up your stereo position before you do any bouncing. Sorry, where am I? Let me go back down here to bounce, and I'll select that. So if you're going to be doing a stereo bounce, then make sure you're actually making use of that stereo field by panning your tracks out. Don't go crazy, but if you want to make up a full mix, then move them out to the left and right a little bit. Otherwise, if you're panning them all over the way up the middle, then you may as well just go with a mono bounce. Let's just go for stereo in this example, and I'll go down to execute, and that will create that file. That'll just take a moment to create a file, and then we could be able to place that file into any one of our tracks for playback. And we get to that screen down in the track parameters. So a new bounce file has been created. We should be able to go across here to the first track here. Where are we here? And select that and move across to where we select our files. And voila, there's nothing here. Where's our bounced file? Our bounced file should be right here in the list of files within the project. But here's the thing. Our bounced file is a stereo file. We're trying to drop it down into a mono track. We're going to have to make this a stereo linked track back here. If I go back out of here, select it again, and go across to stereo link, turn that on. Now check out what it looks like. when we go back on the main screen. 1 and 2 have been linked into a stereo file, and if I was to select them, go across to File, boom, there was our track. It's been there all along. We just couldn't see it because it was a stereo track, and we were trying to stuff a stereo track into a stereo file into a mono track. Let's go ahead and select this guy for playback. And then as we move back on the main screen, we can see these 2 have been played here, and all of our 4 tracks have been bounced onto here should play back. But let's actually complete this by moving over to tracks 3 and 4 and having them play back no file. Where is it? File select. Let's have them play none. And sorry, go back to the 4th one and set that guy to play none as well. Cool. Okay, so let's play it back. As you can hear, all 4 tracks are playing back on the first 2 tracks here. Now, I didn't pan them out very wide, so we can't really hear the stereo panning out right now. But if I'd done that, then you'd be able to hear in that left and right. And we have all 4 parts on tracks 1 and 2. And better yet, we have 3 and 4 that are completely open for us to record some new parts in. Now, what this all means is that tracks 3 and 4 are now open to record new parts. And please notice this, the original parts are still there in the project. You could unlink those first 2 tracks and assign the old parts back to it, just like they were before, if you're not happy with maybe the bounced mix, for example. It's really important to understand the distinction between recorded files and the tracks. Tracks playback files. So while you do have a maximum of 4 playback tracks, you can keep a trail of all of your old parts and those files and bring them up on any tracks that you wish. So the multi-track mode allows you to record unlimited tracks if you set the record mode to always new and then play back a maximum of 4 tracks at a time. We can use the built-in mics or either the lines in by using mono or arming 1 track, or stereo by arming a pair. Now you can use effects in your inputs, and because they are laid across your inputs, you can choose a new effect every time that you record. You can punch in and out and bounce to create unlimited parts. Multi-track mode is like your own little recording studio in your pocket. Now let's move on to some of the cool edits that you can do with your H4n.